Hi, this is Jane Pauley from NBC's Today Show, reminding you to watch the Carolyn Jackson Show at noon here in Austin on Channel 36.
And I'm Carolyn Jackson, reminding you to watch Jane Pauley on the Today Show, NBC, Channel 36.
Let's say hello to our guest, the Princess of Alderaan, better known to us as actress Carrie Fisher. Welcome back to Earth.
Let's meet Fran Drescher and Jay Leno.
Sure.
I'm in Dallas talking with actor Warren Beatty about his new movie, Shampoo. I can't think of a nicer way to start the day than by chatting with the very lovely actress Anne Margaret.
Well, Joe Namath, I'd recognize you anywhere.
Our guest, Brooke Shields.
Our guest, Woody Allen.
Our guest, Sally Field.
Introducing Carolyn Jackson to the Austin television audience is like introducing Nancy to Ronnie.
Clip 1 of Carolyn Jackson and Nina Vizcarrondo.
Hello, I'm here in Austin, Texas with Carolyn Jackson. Carolyn, how did you become the host of your own show on Austin's first television station?
Cactus used to love telling everybody, said, we didn't choose Carolyn because she was the most beautiful or she was the sexiest. We chose her because the viewers said we're comfortable with her, and they said she was somebody they'd like to have for a friend or was the girl next door.
Would you tell us more about KTVC, the station your show was on?
Well, for one thing, it was the only station in town. That's quite an advantage. And it was owned by President and Lady Bird Johnson. And they had a penthouse on the fifth floor of the station. And the head Secret Service man, whose name was Mike, was standing out there when he said, "Hey, kid," he said, I have a compliment for you. The big man was watching today, and he said, "I like that girl. That gal. She's good." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "About the man upstairs." And I said, "God?" And he said, No. He said, "The man in the penthouse." And I said, "President Johnson?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "That girl?" I said, "Do you mean to tell me I work for this man and he doesn't know my name?"
Afternoon television begins with Woman's World at 12 noon, starting with a capsule of the news, followed by your host, Carolyn Jackson, as she talks with people from all walks of life and plans interesting and informative demonstrations whenever possible.
So you were already married with children when you started your career in 1968. Did you feel pressure to stay a housewife at that time?
Most of my friends were very content to be homemakers and stay at home, and they liked to belong to clubs, but that just wasn't my thing. I loved being with my family and all, but I knew once they started to school that I was not going to be content if I were not doing 5 or 6 things. My mother did have a little trouble understanding this wild daughter who wanted to have a career.
So why did they change the name of your show after a few years?
Rush Evans called me in and said, "We don't want to call it Woman's World because we have done extensive research and we found out that we have as many men watching as women." I said, "Okay, what are we going to call it?" And he said, "How about the Carolyn Jackson Show?" And I said, "That fits me." I interviewed Jane Fonda shortly after that, and that was difficult because I certainly did not agree with her views.
It helped me, being on the other end of the microphone a lot, to have more understanding about what you're doing and what you're up against. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it a lot. What do you think of it? Were we accurate?
Parts of it were not realistic, at
Tell
least
me what.
from my point of view.
Uh-huh.
First of all, you always seem to have all of the TV equipment and personnel at your command. They were always there ready to go out with you. And we have to, very often we have to fight to get equipment. Somebody else has got the equipment, and there's not enough to go around. And very often your story is junked because somebody else has got the minicam.
Yeah.
And of course, this is a minor point, but we don't have anybody to do our makeup. You have to do that yourself.
I did not have a staff of any kind, so I had to do all of my own research, but that is very important. But there's a fine line between knowing too much about your subject and in not knowing enough. You can't conduct a real interview or an interesting interview unless you have some knowledge of the subject and the person. However, if you get into it too deep and you know too much, then you may not ask the obvious questions because you feel like you already know that. But they don't know that. the viewers may not know that. So you always have to keep in mind, what is it the viewer wants to know?
You play the clarinet.
I do, yeah.
So do I.
Do you?
We should have
Not
brought
as
him
bad-
along.
not as bad as me,
Oh,
though.
much worse.
I think I have-
sure.
I think I'm
But
the
you're still
worst
playing
worst.
yours. I'm not playing mine.
Oh.
Aren't you still playing in a group or something?
Yes, you'd have to kill me to get me to stop playing, you
Oh.
know, but I'm really terrible.
I'm not gonna. In fact, I'm going to invite you to come to Austin, Texas, and play your clarinet for us.
Oh, well, I think I'm busy that day.
You think you're busy that day?
No, you've never heard me play, or else you wouldn't invite me to play. You know, I'm really, really bad.
You mentioned sports a while ago. You were a football and basketball player in high
That's
school?
not true either.
Where did they get all this stuff?
Well, I probably lied to someone somewhere.
But are you a sports enthusiast?
Yeah, you could safely say I was enthused about people playing sports.
You're a cosmetologist.
That's right.
Did you do all your own
What's
makeup?
my sign? See if you can guess her sign.
Cosmetology, that's
Oh,
for
my.
hair, makeup.
Oh, hair makeup, I'm
Idiot.
sorry.
Did you ever in your life?
The little jaw was the ones with the... They were
The
with
glowing eyes
glowing
and
eyes
little hoods.
and
They
they-
talk like munchkins.
Yeah, do that for me. That's terrific. I think you better work on Donald. I don't think he's having a very good time.
In the film?
Yeah. Are you
Being
having...
with you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're having a good time?
I'm having just as good a time as I possibly could.
Had occasion to interview Gloria Steinem. The floor manager came over and he said, may I help you with your microphone? And she grabbed it out of his hand and she said, I am quite capable of doing that myself. And he was so stunned. I mean, he was just trying to be polite. So I wanted to do something so Ted didn't feel so bad. So I looked out there and I said, Ted, would you please come help me with my microphone? I mean, I'm certainly believing in women's having equal rights, for goodness sakes. But I thought she was a little bit over the top in many of her thoughts.
Carolyn Jackson, come on down. There she is, Carolyn. Susan Kelly.
I had a television show.
What was the show about?
It was a poor man's Oprah Winfrey.
Poor man's Oprah Winfrey.
Hi, Yaya.
Oh, hi there, Monica. I just remember how the guys would always prank her, you know, and try to pull things and see if she would melt, which she didn't do. But they did everything they could to, you know, kind of blow up the show.
There was a lot of teasing and joking at the station. We just
Oh, absolutely. I was the target always because I don't know, it's because I'm so gullible and I believed anything anybody told me, or whether it was just kind of this brother-sister relationship where you're supposed to tease the girl.
That's when they started the 10 o'clock call. What year was this, Herb? Do you remember? What year was this?
I was wondering, so you sometimes were the cameraman for Carolyn's show?
Oh, yeah.
You were?
We used to give her a very hard time.
Why did you pick her?
Just didn't know any better. There wasn't anybody else available that would work for that price.
Isn't that the truth? I thought that I was quite deserving of a raise. I spent every weekend representing the station somewhere. That was always out of my pocket. I didn't have any expense account. He turned to me and he said, Carolyn, you know you really don't need a raise. You have Chili to take care of you, meaning my husband. Which is a statement that probably he could not get away with in today's world.
Did you ever get a raise?
A friend of mine who was working over at KTVV called me and she said, the word has gotten around that you might not be real happy where you are. Our manager would like to know if you would maybe like to meet with him and consider coming over here. And he offered me, for the first time, a contract. I'd never had a contract before. He offered me a bigger salary, not a lot more, but we're getting there. I went into this knowing I was stepping into a man's world. And I knew what the risks were. I knew the limited opportunities, but I still chose that route because I was willing to take that risk. It's so much easier for gals today, and I'm so grateful for that.